we're going to transition to Q&A here, and thank you for those of you who have dropped in your questions. You still have time while we are talking. We're going to choose our own questions, but to kick us off, I'm going to kick this one to you, Robbie. I feel like with your stats and data, maybe you can shed some analytical light on Linda's question. She says, I have more than a few folks who are ardent Trump supporters. Their eyes don't see anything but declaring things have never been better. Is it still worth engaging?
Hmm. Yeah. So, again, I'm someone with plenty of relatives and friends down in Mississippi, that I think fit that description well. And I've just tried to keep talking, and to kind of keep saying, look, this is my experience, this is the way it makes me feel. I know, Diana, we've had a conversation where you've had similar conversations and saying, like, telling that story about, uh, going to the soccer game, telling a story about having to have this conversation with my son about staying away from, people with police and ice vests on for his own safety. And he's a white kid, right? Kind of sandy blonde hair. So, uh, but yet I feel that deeply. I think the thing it is about, like, I think a lot about, like, witnessing, testifying, that's part of what we're called to do. And I think for those of us who are white, and become and still have connections into that world, I think it is kind of unsettling, the comfort zone, unsettling, I mean, frankly, it's a lot of kind of arrogance and even glee sometimes that people are experiencing, just kind of saying, like, wait a minute, like, no, right? That's not where I'm at. Let me tell you where I'm at on this, and trying to sort of say, like, this is how I feel about it. This is what people I know are going through. This is what people I know are fearful about. Like, I have another friend of my daughter's who is a DACA recipient, who is in the country, right, under the DACA provisions, has protections from the federal government, and her own job has told her not to come into work in DC, because even though she has legal protections right now, they've told her you can work indefinitely from home because we're worried about you getting on the metro and getting snatched off the street by masked people with no identification, and no one will know what happened to you, right? So that's kind of the world in which we're, and, like, Republican or Democrat, like, this is not a partisan issue. I think that's the thing that I've had to make the shift on, is that with try to make the shift be like, this is not about Democrats and Republicans. I mean, we're way beyond that. This is not about polarization. We are way beyond the problems of polarization. This is about a creeping authoritarianism and fascism that is going to sweep all of us into the undertow, Republicans and Democrats alike, here, if we don't do something about it. These are the kind of basic freedoms that the country was, supposedly established on. And if we can't see our way enough to kind of, just because, like, oh, because I'm Republican, I somehow feel like this is not coming for me, is deeply, deeply, deeply mistaken.
I'll add just a couple of things to that. One, if you still are in some sort of relationship with folks like that, if you can talk to them, because I don't have those people in my life. I would venture to say a lot of us on here don't typically, maybe because of family, but because of your public statements, right? People know where you stand. So like if you're not talking to them, they may not hear it from anyone else. And I say that sensitively because I know how hard these conversations are. But then to strategy, we've mentioned before, and Robbie just mentioned it, like testimony, witnessing, like whatever facts, whatever data you have, if you can couch that in a story, that's helpful. It's accessible. It's like, a spoonful of sugar helps medicine go down. In this case, the sugar is the story. That is more relatable, that is less confrontational, right? Uh, so I think that actually requires practice, literally rehearsing these conversations, figuring out what I wouldn't do is just think that spontaneously you're going to be inspired in the moment and know exactly what to say. That takes practice. we can have these conversations on this podcast because we've had these conversations thousands of times before, and then we can get on and be unscripted. But that takes a while, and at the beginning, it does have to be almost scripted in the sense of being confident where you know that you know where you're going to go in the conversation.